Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Ken can take the stage, ready to play. Weekdays at 10, the cars and the scene. Coffee in hand, they're living the dream. Aggression in the voice, got the whole town awake. Bringing fire to the mic, make no mistake. Shows in the corner, spitting out facts. Dropping truth bombs, ain't holding back. Ken in the morning, feel the heat. From 10 a.m. CST, can take a seat. We live and loud, that break in the mind. Light up your speakers, crank up the sound. They're talking about life upside down. Opinions exploded like a sonic blast. In the studio, they're built to last. With passion and grit, they engage and ignite. Every single week, they're a force can't fight. From sports to politics,
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Ken Again in the Morning. How are you this morning, Ken?
Another day above ground. Air's going in and out of my lungs, so I don't get to bitch.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Very interesting. Can you believe it's already Thursday?
Yeah. The week has gone by kind of fast, but kind of slow at the same time for me, so it feels like Gatill's Day to me.
Man, like bye week almost over. It's gone quick, and no big signings that I saw last night. Did you see any signings yesterday?
No. The only thing that I've seen anywhere near like that is Green Bay is looking to extend Dobbs, which after how he's performed in the beginning of the season, it's not surprising.
Oh, and for people, I don't understand why the show got named Halas Hall Report this morning on your feeds. That's a StreamYard issue.
That's what I was wondering, because I'm sitting there going through, I'm like, this isn't the right studio. I'm looking through it. I'm like, oh, it's got to be.
It's the right studio. It's just I don't know how that happened. Really weird. I triple checked it too as we're going on. Someone, did I click the wrong one? No. And actually, I named it TNF time, Thursday Night Football time, for the description of the show, and it came up as Halas Hall Report. I'm like, this isn't Halas Hall Report, but okay. Things happen, I guess. You know, gotta love technology. Yeah. We did that last. Can you get that up, Ken? My mouse isn't working.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. Yeah. We did that last night, broski. We missed you. So it's like, go figure technology, man. You know. Good morning, Joe.
What's going on, fellas?
Oh,
Another day of reporting this out in all the X places. In fact, I'm saying to Raiders Twitter right now.
which nut are they sucking today?
Right, the right one.
Ah, I see that one's their favorite.
No, I know.
The Raiders Twitter?
Right. No, yeah, I
Kansas City sucking the nut.
Yeah, I think. I tell them that KC sucks either your right or left nut. You know. They got a big game on Monday night.
Oh, who the hell are they playing? Jaguars.
Yeah,
I actually think the Jaguars might sneak this one out.
I would not be surprised because KC is losing that battle with Father Time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Joe Flacco.
That's not losing. That's lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're about done there in the AFC West. AFC West has actually been a really good division this year.
Yeah.
Good football.
The Chargers now look vulnerable.
I don't think the Chargers lose 2 weeks in a row. I think they just had a bad game against the Giants. I think they kind of got a little bit trap gamed. The Giants also, the rookie, they're kind of on a different little emotional high. That did not look like the Chargers that we've seen to start this year. I think the Chargers rebound. Now, granted, the Chargers have some big injuries, right, on the O line. That affected them. So, but Harbaugh's a good coach, man. I don't see that stuff standing 2 weeks in a row for them. I just don't. Case, I mean, yeah, Chargers are doing well. The Broncos, I mean, they were the overachievers last year. They're kind of middle of the road for me overall. The Raiders are improving, as long as Max Crosby's there at least. Yeah, I don't know. They got some good football going out there in the AFC West. Actually, the West in general has been interesting because like Arizona with their record and Seattle, and I mean, really, that division is playing some good football too. Who's your surprise division so far?
The NFC West.
Yeah, I can agree
I
with
thought
that.
the NFC West was going to be absolute. I thought the NFC West was going to be absolute trash. I thought Arizona would win that division by default because the Niners were going to be weak, the Seahawks were going to be weak. The Rams, the Rams look great. They look like they're the class of the division so far.
But it's because the rest of the division hasn't really played as great as competition as the Rams that they look good, maybe.
The fact that, like, I think don't all four of the teams, they're at least 2-2.
Yeah.
Like at least 2-2. So they're the bottom team in the division is 500. To me, that's a surprise.
Which is also the story in the NFC North. The worst record being the Bears at 2-2.
Well, we kind of expected that, right? I mean, at least everybody's been talking about the North all off season.
Yeah. With Chicago, it was more the question mark of seeing how that coach is going to perform with the team. And seems to be working out decently so far. Well, at least after the last two games.
I also agree with Broski. I think the AFC North, for how unimpressive it looks this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. It looks like the Steelers might end up running away with that division unless Baltimore gets their shit in check.
Yeah. Who would have called that one, like Baltimore being this bad?
Never. I would have thought they were going to be one of the powerhouses of the AFC. I was thinking the AFC was probably going to come down to either the Bills, Ravens, or Chargers.
A lot of people had Bills Ravens as an AFC championship game. And it's like the Bills are upholding their end of the bargain. The Ravens not so much.
As long as the Chiefs don't get there, then the Bills should be fine. Right? As long as the Chiefs don't pull off that last 6 weeks freaking.
Are the Chiefs the Bills 49ers?
Yeah.
I kind of like to see the Bills slay the dragon and beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
So would I. I just don't know that it's going to happen. Like, how many opportunities has Josh Allen had already, and he hasn't been able to get it done, man?
I mean, they'll play each other in the regular season.
At this point, I feel like Josh Allen should they should get a different matchup. Should go win a Super Bowl. His legacy is secured in that way, and so that it doesn't come down to like, he was a great quarterback, but he could Kansas City in the playoffs, like, because that's the narrative right now. People aren't talking about how many playoff wins he has. They're not talking about how great, they're talking about, like, and here's the worst part is he plays so phenomenal in those games too. Like, he cannot do anymore. He's Superman in those games, and it's still not enough. But that's the narrative. Right? That's what people remember. It's like, he throws for 500 yards and he runs for another 150, and they still lose in the last minute. Like, so For Josh Allen's sake, I hope he doesn't have to play Kansas City in the playoffs.
See, that's why I kind of hope he does have to play them. That way he can get over that hurdle to where people won't be able to say that against him. Well, the only reason you got that Super Bowl is because you didn't have to play Kansas City. Because Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback, and I'd hate for that to be the narrative about him.
You know what? You might be right. Because remember Tom Brady and Peyton Manning had that amazing AFC rivalry, and it was like, what was the narrative? It's like Peyton can't beat Tom, until that 1 year. He only had to do it one time, dude. Tom beat his ass every other time, but because Peyton was able to do it once, we still talk about Peyton.
At this point in the season, though, see what we've seen. Granted, this is way early. We're not starting week 5 tonight. Is there anyone that looks like they can compete with Buffalo in the Super Bowl?
I would say yes, just for the whole fact of Buffalo has a weakness on defense. You can put points up on that team. It's now comes down to the fact of, can you stop Josh Allen?
I think several teams would would make an interesting Super Bowl with Buffalo. Like if the Rams could find their way to the Super Bowl.
Not interesting. I'm looking for, who do you think could actually beat Buffalo in the Super Bowl?
By interesting, that's what I mean. Is I'm not automatically picking Buffalo. Like I think the Rams are interesting. I think the Eagles could definitely beat Buffalo. But the Buffalo could probably beat the Eagles too. So I think that would be an interesting Super Bowl. Let's see. I wouldn't mind seeing the Bucks, to be honest with you. I think the Bucks, that would be an offensive shootout, dude.
Yeah, but do they have the defense to at least get one stop on them?
I don't know. I mean, Tampa's defense is not terrible. They have some players over there, dude.
They stopped the Eagles when they needed to stop the Eagles last week. I mean, they just couldn't, cap the game. But I mean, Josh Allen is just like, I don't know, man, who's stopping him, man. I just don't know who's stopping him this year. I mean, it's a long season, but at this point, it's hard to find a quarterback as dynamic as him right now. He does everything.
With how many points the Lions are putting up every week, maybe the Lions.
The Lions are right back where they were last year. They had their little week 1 faux pas, okay, let's get our acts together. No, we can't really do this. No, guys, we got to talk like this. They had their communication line woes where they were trying to figure it out. I get it. They don't play in the preseason. We all know that. And then the Bears game, they started to put it together. And then they did put it together in the second half of that game, especially. And from that point forward, no one's been touching them. Since the second half of week 2, they've been just.
I was going to say Miami played them very damn close. And it's not like Miami's out here some powerhouse.
Miami?
Miami?
Yeah, when you watch that game, all the way until they had the roughing the kicker penalty and then that pick.
I didn't know Miami played the Lions.
Yeah, when did they play Miami?
Well, I thought maybe it was the Jets. I thought it was Miami.
No, it wasn't that. Look, the Lions lost to the Packers in week 1. They beat the Bears 52-21 in week 2. Coming in before the Tesla catch, it was 21-14, and actually a pretty close game after the Tesla catch.
I thought you were talking about Buffalo.
No, then they steamrolled the Ravens. They steamrolled the Browns. They're about to steamroll the Bengals, and then they're going to steamroll the Chiefs in week 6 probably. Their next tough game isn't until week 7 against the Buccaneers, and then they go on a bye.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Buffalo, not Detroit.
No,
I think that's going to be a good game. Bucks and Lions. I think that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game at that point. But I mean, right
now, can I go ahead and take 1 second here? I don't normally do this. I'm usually pretty unapologetic, but I was pretty vocal about the fact that after that Packers game that I felt like the Lions window had been nailed shut, and let's just say they pulled the nails out. Right? I'm not going to say it's wide open, but they pulled the nails out at least. So,
Well, I was going to
my
say,
apologies, Lions fans.
don't forget too how we keep constantly hearing it's still early in the season, anything can happen. So
Right.
your prediction could be proven right by the end.
Yeah, a great Packer argument there, because now we're getting to that point of the season where we know people. Week one is look. We've gone through 4 weeks. Now we're starting to see what teams are. Week one is like preseason. We're starting. Look at the Lions are becoming the Lions again. We're starting to see what they are. Yes, all these games are going to be close. For that part, you're right. But we know what these teams are now, or at least we're starting to get a better sight picture. Week 1 and 2. You're trying to figure out what these teams are going to be. Week 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, the identities come out. By week 7, we know what they are. And minus injury, we kind of have an idea. But week 1 was a blip for them. It was getting the under their feet under them with the new coordinators. There you go. And the new offensive line and the Bears game. Like I said, the first half was kind of close. In the second half, they blew it open after the Tesla call, where he was out of bounds, which he wasn't, but whatever. From that point, they launched. And they're not going to – the Bengals aren't going to slow them down. I don't think –
I was going to say the Bengals are barely even considered a professional football team with how many people are missing.
And I don't think the Chiefs are going to slow them down at all. I think their next big step is the Buccaneers at home. And really, Baker can beat them at home. He's done it. But the bigger point is the Lions are back to what they were last year, which the rest of the North is not. The Packers are –
they got to get the special teams under control and figure out what to do with this offensive line.
I was just going to say that they're interesting. But they have, something they're not used to, injury issues on the line in mass, but they got the bye week to get a little healthy. The Bears are kind of where we thought they would be 3-1 or 2-2. They ended up on the 2-2 mark. But they're ascending. We can see that the offense improving, but their defense is lacking. But once again, bye week injury, people coming back. The Bears will have guys back after the bye week they haven't had all season, so that should be interesting. And the Vikings are kind of a quandary. They're not the team they were last year.
That's what I was going to say, too. Is there a big question mark right now? You're getting up and down performances from them.
But they've had some injury issues that have created that, like Van Ginkel being out, stuff like that. The quarterback is kind of an issue for them because imagine this, isn't being healthy. So the North is interesting, but the Lions are the only team that looks like they're back to form or better. Well, one of two teams that are back to form or better than they were last year. I include the Bears in that because obviously we can all see the Bears offense getting better. They're 2-2, but remember, they were 4-2 last year before the skid. So let's hold off on the Bears to week 8, saying that. but initial returns on the Bears changes are the ones that, look at the Bears are ascending fine. The Packers are in a little bit of a quagmire with injuries, at 2-1-1, and the Vikings are kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But Jim makes a good point. The defense, the run defense is the problem. But I think a lot of the run defense in Chicago gets fixed when some of these guys come off of injured reserve or come back off injury. But we'll see what happens there, what they can adjust. Because the run defense in Chicago is just atrocious. Pass defense is good. Run defense sucks.
Yeah, so, I have no idea how this guy still has a job, let alone being the highest paid special teams coordinator.
Because they are so few and far between, Ken. That's the problem. Like, look at Hightower for the Bears. He is the only coach on this roster who's been there for the last 3 head coaches in Chicago. And, when Ben Johnson, I'm like, how does Hightower still have a job? It's like
isn't Basacchia your special teams coach?
Yep.
Yeah, special teams.
He's been absolutely terrible for us for special teams.
Nobody hasn't, though, Ken. That's just the point. Special teams coaches are good ones are so few and far between. Every so often they're going to get a dip. Right now he's getting a dip. Sometimes it's because of the personnel they're stuck with.
This is his entire career as Green Bay's special teams coordinator. 30th, 32nd, 24th, 29th, 31, 36, 28, 32nd, 30th so far.
Okay, maybe you might have somewhat of a point. I'll say that, but the problem is finding these coordinators is so hard for some reason.
Oh yeah, because we had an issue with special teams before he got here.
And
that's the whole reason we brought him in and paid him all that money.
And you got to remember, for special teams, man, these guys are getting the leftovers in the team, right? I mean, that's kind of hard on a that is hard when you think about it. The only guy he might get handpicked for him is a return guy, right? Like for instance, the Bears signed Duvernay specifically because he's a return guy. But the rest of that special teams, the kickers obviously and the long snapper.
Or you might get like a gunner or something like that they keep on the roster just because of special teams.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're getting the leftovers. So it's hard. I mean, it's like, okay, sure, fire him, but who's going to replace him?
Well, didn't Watson play on special teams too?
No.
No?
No.
Who plays on your so none of your starters play on your special teams?
No, we do have starters. We had Keyshawn Nixon returning kicks and punts, but now that's gone to Golden, which now kind of seems like it's gone to Dobbs. Oh yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised after Golden got wrecked last week.
That's my whole point. I didn't want him back there to start with for that whole reason. Now, Savion Williams, since he's a big guy and actually has some muscle to him and all that, I have no problem sending him back there, because if he gets hit like that, I don't worry that, oh my God, he's going to get broken. It's going to be, wow, he's going to have to sit and take a rest for a minute.
But when you look at especially
that spin move was ill advised.
with the field goal teams, though, look at the Raiders game, the breakdown and the protection that let the gunner, if you will, go straight to the kicker. That's a problem with guys that maybe aren't normally special teamers that get thrown in there because of injury. And I think Green Bay's gotten some of that. You had so many injuries, guys who would normally be doing protections in a practice, those protections aren't there, and now you got new guys who just don't get it yet. And I think that becomes part of the problem. But you go. What?
I don't know.
I have no idea. But you go to Detroit, and Detroit's back is right where they need to be, man. They look like Detroit of last year. I don't know when they slow down. I don't know when.
I wanted to ask Ken, how did the Packers start last year through the first 8 games? What was their record after 8 games?
Relatively slow in the beginning.
Because I think that what you're starting to see is kind of a trend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since Jordan Love, it's like the Packers seem to be slow starters, and then they finish strong. So I'm not really worried about the Packers at this point being 2-1-1. Even if they're 500 after 8 games, I'm not really worried about them.
Oh, they're going to be. They're going to be, because they're going to bye this week. Then they get the Bungles, right? So basically, they got another bye. Then they get the Cardinals. That game could be interesting, possibly, but I doubt it. Then their next test is when they go to Pittsburgh in week 8, and then they get the Panthers, which
I thought that was week 10.
No, week 8. Week 9 they get the Panthers. Week 10 they get the Eagles. There's their second test, and then that between now and week 10, and then it gets interesting because then you get the Giants, and who knows what they're going to be. Then you get the Vikings, Lions, Bears, Broncos, Bears, Ravens, Vikings. So they get a little bit of a break there if the Ravens are still ass at week 17. But kind of like the Bears really should win their next 5, right? They should at least win 4 of their next 5. And if the Bears do that, they're in good shape. Well, kind of the same thing for Green Bay. They're getting into an easy part of their schedule. So yeah, I don't know.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like Green Bay's got a cupcake of a schedule, dude.
They do have. I mean, if you think about it, it didn't look that way at first, but because now the Bengals are what they are. Yeah, the Cardinals could be an interesting game. The Steelers could be an interesting game. The Panthers, they should win. Eagles will be tough. Giants now look to be interesting because of the defense side of it. We'll see how the offense progresses. Then you get a Vikings team. We'll see where they're at. Then the Lions, the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears, the Ravens. Week 17. Who knows if the Ravens are even playing for anything at that point. And week 18, they close the Vikings. Once again, who knows if they're even playing for anything. Conversely, if you look at the Bears schedule, they get the Commanders, which they should beat the Commanders coming off Monday Night Football. Then the Saints.
Yeah,
then
but
the Ravens.
Daniels is going to be back for this game.
You want to talk about cake. They get the Commanders, but that's not cake. But after the Commanders, the Saints, the Ravens, and the Bengals. That should be 3 wins right there. Then they get the Giants. So if their next 5 games, if they can go 4-1 or 5-0, they're good. Then you get the Giants. That's interesting. Then you get the Vikings, Steelers, Eagles, Packers, Browns, Packers, Niners, Lions. So this is the easy part of their schedule coming up. So they need to go 4-1 or 5-0 because then it toughens up. So it's going to be. Yeah, Eric, something's up with the StreamYard because if you notice, it says Halas Hall report, which I did not input that in there. In fact, I said TNF football time, and somehow Thursday night football time got translated by StreamYard into Halas Hall report. Go figure. So that's going to be interesting. The Giants are going to struggle without Neighbors, yes, Fred, but that defense is still that defense. So barring injury or trades, and the Giants won without Neighbors for the majority of that game this week. So they'll find a way. So, I mean, and Jim, your tough schedule doesn't look that tough. I mean, we all thought the Bengals were going to be tough this year. We all thought that the Ravens were going to be tough this year. They're not. The toughest team, the Browns are tough defensively. But as long as their offense keeps playing like they did against Detroit, they're not that tough.
Well, since they made it change at quarterback, who knows what you're going to get out of the Browns offensively right now. That's going to take a few weeks to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, Fred, especially with their defense being what it is right now. If their defense is still what it is today, the Bears could definitely beat the Ravens. I'm not scared of the Ravens anymore. And Lamar's out, too, right now for some time. We'll see if Lamar's even playing. No one in the North should be afraid of the Ravens right now. In fact, no one in the NFL should be afraid of the Ravens right now. You know what? Roquan's out, 4 to 8? Their defense is in shambles. Their offense isn't producing. Henry fumbles the ball more than anything right now. I mean, honestly, who's afraid of the Ravens? I mean, Fred, really, look at what's going on.
The only thing that I would be worried about is if you get one of those games where they just happen to play up to what their potential is and they have it to where they end up smoking somebody.
I'm more worried of it being a trap game right now than I am that.
I think the Ravens could beat the Raiders right now.
Their defense, man, Gino would have a good day.
That's what you think.
Oh, yeah. So, Eric, last night I asked you the question on Red Zone before I had the bounce. So, Bear fan Mike said Thibodeau to the Bears for DJ Moore and a 6th-round pick. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a fair trade.
I wouldn't give up Thibodeau.
Here's the thing, but and this was more the extra point on that, Eric, is do you even think the Giants would entertain trading Thibodeau at this point? That's the bigger question for me.
That's what I think. Yes, they have a massive need at receiver right now, but if I'm the Giants, I don't want to mess with that defensive front. That's what's going to win you games.
Yeah, Eric, it's not a rumor. It was an idea by Bear fan Mike.
But you also got to think, Ken. So Thibodeau. let's be honest here. Thibodeau hasn't really achieved what the Giants would have expected from him. He's not a bad player, but he hasn't turned into a game wrecker. And they drafted Abdul Carter, and Abdul Carter is supposed to be that game wrecker. And they still have Brian Burns. So Thibodeau is kind of based on Abdul Carter's development. Thibodeau is kind of expendable at this point. I understand wanting to keep him because you can get Thibodeau, Burns, and Abdul Carter on the field at the same time. I definitely understand that. But if you have this huge need at receiver and you have a guy that's expendable somewhat, I think it makes sense for them. I'm not saying they're going to do it.
That's what some guys are saying. that's what some guys are saying about DJ Moore. He's somewhat expendable now because of the ascension of Rome Odunze, and because you've got Luther Burden III on there, who, by the way, has a 100-yard receiving game but only 99 yards on the season because he had -2 yards last game. Yeah, I know. It's one of those you have to look at and go, wait a minute, how does he have a 100-yard game but only has 99 yards on the season because he went negative last week? And Jim, I said 4-1 over the next 5. I know you're Lions fans, so of course you can't see it. I mean, I get that. I mean, but that makes Eric. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Now, here's the problem though, too, with that, as far as Thibodeau and DJ Moore for the respective teams. I don't know if removing those guys from their teams gets you the desired effect, because DJ Moore being on the field does make an impact. Yeah, he's not getting the catches because Rome is. But guess what? He still draws coverages. His locker room presence is still there. There's other things that go on besides just that straight up, how many receptions, how many targets. For Thibodeau, how many reps on the field. I mean, they're both still integral to their teams to a certain – it could be mutually beneficial, though, because they're both good locker room guys, so that piece kind of may be fine. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Eric, that's it. I am taking away your Packer G, and all you're running around with is that New York Giants G. You want to help the Bears get better? What does the matter with you?
Hey,
because he's going to help the Giants. That's what.
That as much sense as that trade makes, I could see. Well, I could see, but I'm going to propose a 3-way trade that would actually make a lot of sense too. So, the Bears, DJ Moore goes to New York. New York sends a 2nd-round pick to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati sends Trey Hendrickson to the Bears.
Joe, you can get off the show now.
Joe, you know what, Joe? I here's the funny thing. I'm not against that. However, I think the Bears I would be better with the Bears just giving up their 2nd-round pick straight up for him. Anyways, for Trey Hendrickson. Now that trade may work better though, because they'll feel that, hey, well, we're getting a better pick. This New York's versus Chicago's, so that makes the deal sweeter for Cincy. But honestly, I think if the Bears, I don't know if that's the answer, the solve for the Bears' run defense issue right now. I would think they would just give up a 2nd-round pick for him straight up and not and keep DJ Moore. But that would be interesting.
Yeah, Eric, but your G now has the letters to spell out men after it. You are now a G man, and you ain't a Packer backer no more, man.
I mean, that would be interesting, though. And the question I think we all have about Cincinnati is, at what point do they start selling? And I think there are 2 guys who are going to be sold.
I was going to say maybe Hendrickson gets sold.
Yep. Oh, he's definitely getting sold.
But other than that, I don't know that Cincinnati would sell anybody because they know that Burrow will be healthy again by next year. And you're not going to want to rip that down yet.
Jim hates this idea of Hendrickson going to the Bears, but let's face it. Trey Hendrickson will be on someone else's team by the start of week 9. Period. I mean, why? Because if Cincinnati's not a playoff team, why pay him? He's a free agent at the end of the year. You don't have the money. They're going to take him off they're going to trade him as a rental for someone for a 2nd-round pick. That's what's going to happen. The other guy could be T. Higgins. It could be T. Higgins. Maybe.
I don't think they do after giving him the contract there. It seems like him, Chase, and Burrow are locked in together. And Eric, I definitely think you sound crazy.
Yeah, Eric, now you sound crazy.
But hey, we also thought Eric sounded crazy saying that the Giants could beat the Chargers. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, if the Bengals
I definitely think the Bengals are going to be sellers, though. They have to be at this point. You have to how many games has Burrow missed now because you can't put an offensive line in front of him? You have to do something. Your whole draft this year should be offensive linemen, 7 rounds, 7 offensive linemen. If you can't get a starting lineup out of that, then I don't know what to tell you, dude.
That's what I'm saying. I think Hendrickson is gone. I think he's gone. And look, at Chicago makes sense, but I don't know if he answers the question. And who do you supplant with him? I think right now it's Montez Sweat is a guy that you supplant with him because Sweat hasn't done shit in Chicago. So he look at Montez Sweat. We make the trade, 6.5 sacks in the second half of that season. And it's like, wow, give him the big extension. Everyone's happy. Last year, turf toe the whole year, production down. Okay, fine. He was battling turf toe. We all know that's a tough injury, whatever. We get it. He played through it, did his best, cool, whatever. We come to this year, and he's healthy, and you're like, where's Montez Sweat? I think Dio is outplaying Montez Sweat on the other side. So, you could see I'd rather see Hendrickson lined up and Dio. Now, look, at the rotation gets much better if you slow Montez Sweat on your roster. But then maybe the Bears move Montez Sweat. It's good. Yeah, I mean,
it's very well possible that they could.
Yeah, I mean, or you just keep it in rotation, but
yeah,
because the pro rating of the contract, he'd fit. The Bears won't have to really move money around to do it.
Yeah, or if you get another dominant pass rusher on the other side of him, that might be what finally wakens him up and unlocks him.
Dio is playing better than Sweat right now. It's not even close.
And with Sweat's contract, though, can't you get the Sweat is one of the few guys on that roster that you could actually cut at the end of the year with no dead money, right?
Let me double check that really quick because I know his contract this year is pretty good.
And I only bring that up because that might be attractive to a trade candidate. He doesn't have a whole bunch of guaranteed money coming.
Yeah, let me see what his Montez Sweat this year. His cap number this year is $25 million. Let me see what next year is. Hold on, I'm clicking on his contract. His 26 is no. Well, if he's pre-June 1st, he's $18 million dead. But let me look at post. $14 million in dead, 11 in savings. It's not a voidable year. For 27, it's a $21 million savings. His cap number, though, next year is $25 million. It's $25 million every year. So at least that's good. But he's tradable, I think. I think he's making himself tradable the way he's playing this year. I don't know what the dead money is if you trade him, to be honest, because that never makes sense the way it works on the website here. But he's the top contract in Chicago right now.
I think that's actually what it is because we were going through it last week or when you were on vacation. We were going through the Bears contracts that they're big contracts, and I think Montez Sweat was one of them. If you trade him next year, I think it's no dead cap for you guys.
Well, if
he's there's only one or two players.
If we trade him, it obviously you kind of lose out on the dead cap to pay on the trade. But Tremaine Edmonds is a guy we can cut.
Maybe it was Edmonds instead of Sweat, and then also Cole Kmet, I think, was one of them.
It's the three you're talking about are Swift, Kmet, and Edmonds. Those are the big three who could provide easy cap relief for next year. But Hendrickson is going to get traded, especially I think if they lose this week. I think Cincinnati starts looking for trades now because they'll know the writing will be on the wall. If they get steamrolled again this week, the writing's on the wall because if the Packers come in the next week and steamroll them again, it's just make a trade. Hendrickson, I think he gets traded, he becomes a much better player just going to a better team. For the Bears, I think he makes sense because maybe he helps with that run D a little bit more. Even though I think we're getting guys back off injury, right? For the Bears, I think that helps too. Edmonds comes back, from injury. He's been out the whole year, and then Kyle Gordon comes back, and that helps with the run defense too. But I mean, you had traded the mix. I think the Bears are much better. I mean, now your rotation, your 4 edge rusher rotation is going to be Dio. Would probably be Dio, Hendrickson, Sweat, and then Booker. And a lot of Bears fans are really psyched up for Booker this year, taking that step. So, I mean, I think that's good for the Bears. The Raiders make sense, too, because they've got the capital to spend. The Chargers definitely do. The Ravens, I think, are done. The Bucs make sense.
Yeah, the Raiders, would almost say, and tell me if I'm out of line here, Joe, but I don't think that this year that they would do that just because of having Geno at quarterback. He's at best a question mark right now because he's put at least one good game out there and two bad ones.
For the Raiders, though, I think that with Hendrickson, it's a trade and sign. Trade and extend right away for like a 2-year extension. Put him with Max for the next 2 years. After this season, I think for them is golden. That defense, as well as they just played against Chicago, with what Crosby did, could you imagine having to face Crosby and a good Trey Hendrickson? Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
That's
I'm not going to say they would be out.
Like
I'm not going to say they would be out if it was right. But what's the Bills' current situation? Because I actually think the Bills make more sense. Like, if they're trying to go all in and win a Super Bowl, they need defensive help. Like, I don't know if they can afford it, though, is the only thing. They might have to move some money around.
They got $3 million in cap right now.
And cap hit for the rest of the season, Hendrickson.
Yeah, I looked at it. I think it's close because it's not as bad as you think. Trey Hendrickson's cap number this year was $25 million. Remember, it's going to be prorated out in a trade. Plus, they may end up having to eat some contract to get what they want. But here's the problem for Buffalo, because I agree with you. Buffalo makes sense. Even if they can make the money work, the problem is going to be this. If there are other teams who want him, i.e. the Bears, i.e. the Raiders, you're going to go with one of the other teams because you're looking at a better draft compensation than the Bills, because you assume the Bills are going to the AFC Championship game. You're going to assume the Bears aren't going to make the playoffs or at best be a wild card and go out. You're going to assume that the Raiders might not even make the playoffs, right? So, I mean, that's kind of like the Khalil Mack trade. Why did the Bears get him and the Packers didn't? Because the Raiders figured the Bears would give them a better draft pick in return because their record wouldn't be as good. Now, it didn't work out that way for the Raiders that year. The Bears win the division. But, I mean, if it's coming between the Bills and another playoff team, the Bills are people are already penciling the Bills in for the AFC Championship game. No one's doing that with the Bears. No one's doing that with the Packers. No one's doing that with the Lions. They might be penciling them in for the NFC Championship game. But they might go with the better compensation.
But here, okay, so here, let me counter that real quick, because I agree with you. Like, they don't really want a bidding war. But if you're the Bills and you're this close, right? You've made the AFC title game a couple times, but you can't get over the hump, and you really believe that this piece could help put you over the top, I'll give them next year's first because it's going to be damn near a second anyway. And I don't think the Raiders or the Bears are going to give up a first because they're, like you said, their first is going to be, in middle of the round. Maybe the Raiders, it might be a top 10 pick. Who knows? Like, so if I'm the Bills, I say fuck that first round pick. Like, go all in. If you're really serious about winning the Super Bowl, go all in, dude. Make the money work, and see what happens.
The Colts are, Eric. Yeah, that
the Colts is another one that makes sense.
That makes sense. And let me check their money real quick. I think they're good on money. I don't think money's going to be an issue for them. There we go. I'm like, where are the Colts? And I'm on it right there. Colts have $4 million. Once again,
Crosby doesn't want to leave, though, Warren. That's the thing. Crosby wants to stay.
Well, he also said he didn't want to be a part of another rebuild. And you think with what's going on with Geno, you think there's got to be a rebuild somewhere in there, at least at quarterback.
Well, at quarterback, but that's not a rebuild. I think they started kind of a soft rebuild this year, and Crosby just signed an extension. Like, he just signed a 4-year extension. So I don't see him leaving. But if honestly, like, I'm getting to the point where I kind of agree a little bit. Like, I like Max Crosby so much as a player. that I would be willing to let him go to a team where he could go win a Super Bowl because he deserves it. He's busted his ass.
I don't think he's even expressed the desire to leave, though. Like, every time you hear him, he's like, I'm Raider to the core.
That's what I'm saying. He wants to be a Raider for life. But,
Yeah,
if it becomes obvious that we're not going to win a Super Bowl in his career, like I wouldn't be opposed to trading him and let him go somewhere where he could get a ring.
Now,
He deserves it.
There's some other possibilities for a guy like Trey Hendrickson. Right now, the only team I can think of right now that has a player that we know will probably get sold is Cincinnati. And Trey Hendrickson is the obvious one because of the contract situation. There are going to be some other interesting ones, though, that are going to pop up over the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. And it's going to be interesting to see who's buying, who's selling. To be honest, I could see no one. I could see the NFC North standing pat overall. I know the Packers have talked about maybe we should try to get a cornerback in there, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that,
I wouldn't be against that, but I definitely don't want to give up a shit ton to go out and get them.
No, you're looking at – look, most of these trade deadline deals are second, third, fifth rounders, depending on the quality of the player. The problem is going to be for the Packers at the trade deadline is what cornerbacks are going to be available, and is it worth giving up a second rounder for a guy, especially if it's a rental versus a guy that's you're under contract for a minute. And it's a question like, who else is selling? Like, yeah, the Saints might be selling, but here's the problem with the Saints. Like, who wants to trade for Alvin Kamara's contract? Who wants Olave's contract? Who wants any of those contracts that they're moving?
Oh, geez.
I would take Olave's contract. I would take Olave's contract right now. He's on a rookie deal.
A bunch of Packer fans that are all over wanting Olave.
Well, let me back up on Olave because they'll probably he's on the rookie. But like, okay, Kamara, who wants that contract?
Nobody.
I mean, next year Alvin. This year's not bad. It's $10 million, but you know what next year's contract is on him? Anyone want to take a guess? What his cap hit next year is? 18.5. 18.5 next year. So no one wants Kamara's contract. Cam Jordan, Cam Jordan next year, 18.7. Tyson Hill next year, 13.7. Eric McCoy, 17.6. DeMario Davis, 14.2. Chase Young, $20 million next year. Carl Granderson, $18 million. Olave, $15 million, but he's going nowhere. I mean, they've got some contract issues that, and look at, by the way, Tyson Hill, if you cut him, 0 dead cap, 0 savings. Cam Jordan, 0 savings if you cut him. Davis, 0 savings if you were to cut him. The dead caps on all these guys are massive. So, like, yeah, sure. I mean, if you've got tons of cap room for next year, and the Saints got to do something. They're negative $15 million already for next year. And that's with only 43 guys on the active roster. So it's amazing they have $8 million in cap space this year.
But you know what's crazy is they're going to get rid of all those guys that you just mentioned for 0 savings. So they're going to lose any decent players that they have, get no cap space for it, and then still start their rebuild. Like all they did was put off their rebuild another year, and like they should have been in year 2 of their rebuild already.
Yep.
Yeah. The other guy we got to talk about obviously is Kirk Cousins. So let's look at him. Kirk Cousins' his cap number this year is $40 million. So you got to have money available to get him this year. Next year's cap hit, $57.5 million. In 27, another $57.5 million. In 28, $25 million. Or I'm saying 28, he's gone. Never mind. So you got to be willing to spend $100 million, $114 million for 26 and 27 if you want Kirk Cousins.
Would I trade Crosby for Cousins? Hell no, dude. Are you kidding me?
So Kirk, as much as we like to talk about Kirk being traded, I think Kirk is untradeable because of his money. Unless Atlanta says we're going to eat most of this contract. Remember, that's also a part of this. You could eat part of the contract, but man, I
might consider like Crosby. I might consider Crosby and maybe another pick for like Joe Burrow. Like, you know what I mean? Like Crosby and a first,
maybe another pick. I think it's going to take more
that's what
than
I'm saying. Like another pick. Crosby's worth 2 by himself, dude. Like, so I mean, how much more than 3 first-round picks are you expecting for? I'm not. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that the Bengals would ever trade Joe Burrow. I'm just trying to show you like what it would take for me.
I'm just thinking that quarterbacks come at such a premium that it would take 2 first rounds and Crosby to get them.
I might be willing to do that.
The problem comes to who else is going to be a seller? Who else is going to be a seller? I mean, the only guy we know right now is probably going to get sold because of his contract and the situation with his team is Trey Hendrickson. Who else is going to be that 1-year rental?
I know it'll be Tyreek Hill. Oh wait.
Well, the Dolphins are interesting too, though, because you look at the Dolphins. Let's look at the Dolphins really quick. We got a little bit of time. Obviously, it would have been Tyreek, but I don't know. Are they maybe Waddle? Would they maybe?
I don't
Waddle?
think they move on from Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's part of any rebuild they do.
I agree.
Waddle's cap number next year is only 11.6. Tyreek's number,
especially
next year
after losing Tyreek the way they did, because now Tyreek has no trade value.
Between Tyreek and Tua next year, they're spending $108 million.
Man, I keep talking about having a crippled division in football, but I didn't think it'd start in Miami.
The third guy is Bradley Chubb at 31 mil. Then it's a 20 mil drop off to Jordan Brooks at 10. Austin Jackson's 15. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. No, Minka Fitzpatrick's at 18 mil next year. Jeez, okay. They don't.
I think Bradley Chubb could be a sell candidate because I don't know if anybody's gonna. I don't know if any. I'm not saying that people are going to want to take on that contract, but for the Dolphins, from the Dolphins' perspective, you're paying a guy $31 million, and you're not going to be winning this year. Like, it makes sense.
Bradley Chubb is 29, 28 is his void year. His cap number for the next 2 years, 31 and 31, and then you get the void year. You got to be willing to spend $62 million, almost $63 million on Chubb the next 2 seasons if you want to trade for him.
Eric, there's a good possibility that could happen, but not Garrett Wilson. I think he's like Waddle, that he's going to be the one that stays out of anybody.
Yeah, and they're not going to trade Quentin Williams, and they're not going to. There's a couple guys with that team they're just not going to trade.
Hall, they're not going to trade any of those guys.
No, none of those guys. See, that's the other problem. We look at teams with bad records, like, okay, they should be sellers, but they don't have anything worth selling that you want per se. Like,
or if they do, it's a pillar of the franchise type of thing to where they're not going to move on them even if they are trash.
And look, we saw this with the Bears, and I think Bears fans kind of forget this. The rest of the league forgets this. When the Bears, everyone said the Bears were going to be sellers, they were buyers. It's reversed now. Some of these bad teams, when they're bad, they're buying for the future. Like we bought, right, Montez Sweat when everyone thought we should be selling. We went out and got Montez Sweat, right? So, in fact, Poles has yet to sell. He's always bought. So the mindset of these GMs has somewhat changed. The only reason you sell now is if you got a guy like Trey Hendrickson, you're not going to sign the next year, and you're not going to the playoffs this year. It's made that market a little more interesting. Because like Cincinnati might trade Trey Hendrickson, but they may be buying in other ways. You see what I'm saying? Like the only reason they may sell Trey Hendrickson is because they know they're not going to re-sign him next year and they're not going to the playoffs. So, okay, it doesn't hurt us to sell him, right? Because we know we're not – those are the guys that are going to get traded. So we have to really scour the league for teams that don't think they're going to make the playoffs have guys that are in contract years. And then you have to go, okay, which one of those guys fits my need? So Green Bay is looking like what cornerbacks are going to be available like that. The Bears, if anything, might be looking at edge rushers and maybe even running backs. I don't know. I don't think another running back fixes the running issue in Chicago, but I think it's the O-line issue. It's not the running backs per se. But still, those you're looking for very specific positions. And then you have to look for teams that aren't going to make the playoffs and have a guy who basically is going to be a rental because no one's trading anyone with 2 or 3 years on a contract anymore. In fact, these teams are buying rather than selling. It used to be like you could buy a guy with 2 years on a contract on a bad team because they're like, yeah, we're just going to scrap it all. But now the bad teams are actually buying at the trade deadline.
I don't know.
Like
I think the 49ers should offload some players. I think they should get rid of Kittle.
When the Bears got
trading into
Montez
player,
Sweat, everyone knew that Washington wasn't going to retain Sweat and Young, and they would be rentals wherever they went, and the Bears got in on it and got the rental that they traded and signed for the future. That's what teams are doing. The Niners are interesting, but I think they're kind of buying though too because they're trying to keep it afloat. I don't know if they're selling, unless you're out of the playoff.
That's what I'm saying. They should be selling.
You're not wrong.
Brock Purdy is out for the next game again.
I mean, look, they sold on Debo and it hasn't hurt them, so they feel that they can sell certain players and get away with it. But the question, like, if let's say for our 3 teams, are they selling the specific position that we are looking for? So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears, Packers, Lions, and Vikings for the North specifically don't do much at anything in the trade deadline. The Raiders, I think you could see some movement of certain positions because I think the Raiders are looking for more than one position. I think they're looking for a couple positions. They're looking for a receiver. They're looking for, I don't know if they're looking for a running back anymore, but they're definitely maybe looking for a corner or a safety. I like Chin, but he's got some durability issues a little bit. Once again, even the Raiders are looking for specific. If there's a good wide receiver they can pluck and keep for the next couple of years, yeah. But it's so narrow now compared to what it used to be. I mean, I don't know who else could Cincinnati sell.
Aside from the people that we know they won't sell, because they could sell Jamar Chase right now, but they're not going to. Like,
right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
they could sell T. Higgins right now, but no, they're not going to.
Right, anyone that's under contract for the next 2 or 3 years, they're probably not selling. Even they're the only reason we're mentioning Trey Hendrickson is because he's under contract after this year. T. Higgins they just got the extension on him. Let me see if Orlando Brown is under contract next year or not. Once again, though, you're talking about a left. Orlando Brown's under contract. Brown could be interesting because next, it's not a void year, but he's under contract for the next 2 seasons, and he's a little bit older. But at left tackle, and they're not trying to lose a left tackle.
I was going to say they need to add to that offensive line.
You really look. I mean, yeah. It gets interesting with these players. Like, it's going to be rentals mostly. And very niche for every team. So something to pay attention to after the games this week, especially like if Cincinnati loses, I think we'll start hearing the trade rumors. After this week is when the trade rumors start because, remember, you've got after week 8, I think it's the Tuesday after week 8 at 1300 Eastern Standard Time is the deadline. Because that's the beginning of week 9. 1 p.m. Tuesday of week 9. That's a trade deadline. So between now and week 8,
4 Eastern.
Or it's that day. It's that Tuesday. It's either one. Yeah. The times of them. Sometimes it's 9 in the morning. Sometimes it's noon. Sometimes it's 1. Sometimes it's 4. I don't get these timing conventions that the NFL goes with. But that Tuesday after week 8 is a trade deadline. That's the simple way of putting it.
Yeah.
So we are at week 5. If certain teams lose, we're going to start hearing rumors. Week 6 they'll really pick up. Week 7 we should start seeing tons of movement into week 7s and 8. So something for everyone to consider as we watch. We didn't even talk about the game tonight. There is a game tonight, guys. We're out of time today. Enjoy the game. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow so we can talk about the game that we didn't talk about today. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.